Kidnapping, sexual abuse, and torture. These are some of the 58,000 war crimes Russia's been accused of. We're your hosts,
Joey,
Oliver,
Baiah,
and Brian.
and we're here to answer the question: can Putin be held accountable for the war crimes he and Russia have caused? How did war crimes come about? How are war crimes made?
59 years ago, a convention was started to try and shape the way we fight today. The Geneva Conventions were the conventions made after a businessman, Henry Dunant, went to see soldiers from the Battle of from the Battle of Solferino in 1859. He saw how little help these wounded soldiers were getting, so eventually he made a humanitarian relief agency for injured soldiers called the Red Cross. There was an intergovernmental treaty recognizing the neutrality of this, which led to the first Geneva Conventions. Geneva Conventions were a series of trials that were made to decide what a war crime is. The conventions happened in 1864, 1906, 1929, and 1944. The first one was about injured soldiers. The second one was about naval warfare. The third was about POWs, prisoners of war. And the fourth was about the rights of civilians. They were made to protect the people that aren't fighting or are not able to fight.
What war crimes has Russia committed?
According to the CNBC, Russia has committed over 58,000 war crimes, which include sexual assault, unnecessary murder, civilian violence, bombing buildings, and torture. Russia has also transported many civilians, mostly children and old people, into foster care and other homes in certain areas of Russia. Russia has injured 3,892 people, killed 8,317, 464 children have been killed, 22,209 war crimes have been registered, and 120,000 buildings have been destroyed. This has led to over 8.1 million people being forced out of their homes and having to become refugees.
How do we know about the war crimes that have been committed?
Besides seeing with their own eyes the murdered civilians and bombed buildings, people have told their stories about the war crimes they've seen, which is how we know about most of the war crimes committed. A man says, "I saw corpses of civilians," said Ilya Ivanov, a man who reached Poland after fleeing a village outside Sumy where Russian forces rolled through. Another refugee says, "They will shoot at civilians with machine guns." Ihor Dikov says he heard gunshots as he crossed and saw corpses along the road. The Russians promised to provide a humanitarian corridor, which they did not comply with. They were shooting civilians. There has also been many reports of civilians that have been raped. According to Nataya, a Russian troop told her, "Do you want everything to be fine with your son? So get upstairs and do as I tell you." These are only a few stories of people who have fallen victim to Russian crimes. There are many more people who have been harmed.
Why hasn't Putin or Russia faced any charges yet?
Well, this is because Russia is not a signatory to the International Criminal Court. The ICC has been very controversial to many countries, so these countries have not signed or attended any of these courts. This is because these countries have concerns about what happens if they sign. Signing could cause vulnerability from outside interference in their affairs, and these countries are reluctant for their citizens, especially military, to be prosecuted by the ICC. The ICC has issued an arrest warrant towards Vladimir Putin, but we can't say if this will even affect anything. Because Russia isn't a signatory to the International Criminal Court, the ICC does not have any jurisdiction or power over Russia. and Russia does not have to follow the obligations that the ICC has with their laws.
What has Ukraine done?
Because Russia is not a signatory to the ICC, and since the ICC is limited to what they can do as of right now, Ukraine has started convicting people themselves. Ukraine has already convicted one Russian tank commander for life, and BBC says, so far, however, it seems Ukraine's court has been able to mount their own cases. By the end of August, its prosecutor general had charged 135 suspected war criminals. This is just the beginning of what Ukraine is doing to try to stop Russia.
Here's what we know about the fight between Russia and Ukraine. We know 58,000 war crimes have been committed. We know that most of the war crimes have been committed against civilians. And we know Russia can't be convicted. But we don't know if Putin will be held accountable for the war crimes Russia has committed. And we don't know what will happen to Ukraine, but the ICC, Ukraine, and many others are fighting back against Russia and fighting their injustices. We're your hosts,
Joey,
Baiah,
Oliver,
and Brian.
signing off.